Good morning.
Hi. We're here.
Oh, it's such a beautiful day outside.
I know. It's gorgeous. It actually is a beautiful day for me outside.
I mean, it feels comfortable.
It was sprinkling a little bit.
That was a big change.
When I walked
Speaking
in.
of which, from last week to this week.
I know.
Wasn't it?
What happened?
Although, I mean, I had to turn the air conditioner on in my house last night
Right.
because I was like, it's fine, it's
I'm
fine. And I was
sweating.
starting to sweat a little bit. I look at the thermostat, and I'm like, it's
like
85
82.
degrees in here.
Yep. Yep. That's how we were too. It's crazy, man. Texas weather.
And it was still a lot cooler outside.
And it feels like today it dropped a little bit already.
Might have.
Because I remember when I was going to work this morning, it wasn't bad. I mean, it was super comfortable.
Yeah.
And then when I was walking in here just then, I was like, a little bit nippy.
Yeah?
It's like 55 now. What happened?
Yeah. So, I don't know how, I know everybody sort of interacts with their families a little bit differently. I don't always talk with my family very often. You know,
Right.
my mom literally lives, I could walk to her house in 10 minutes. But I haven't talked to her in 2 weeks.
Nice. Not bad.
But, you know, that's just the way it is with my family. We don't,
Sure.
we don't, unless something is up,
Right.
we're like, it's cool.
Yeah.
So anyway, she sent out a little text message to me and my brother, making a joke about coronavirus, and I was like, "All right, yeah, true, but it's still a good idea for everybody to be cautious.
Right.
You know, don't panic, but you know,
Right.
wash your hands,
Right.
you know, do the stuff to make sure that you're." And she's like, "Oh, I've been sick for 10 days," and I'm like, "All right, Mom, what kind of sick have you been?"
She's like, oh no, I was just joking because I have it. It's like,
She's like, she's like, yeah, sore throat, runny nose, coughing. I'm like, is that so?
oh, good. Oh, good deal.
So I was like,
man. She's like,
what else?
maybe,
You know?
maybe you should get that looked at. Oh, that's funny. So
But
did
every
she,
indication is that she, she does interpreting,
Right.
at courts around the state. So she also travels a lot.
Right.
So I was like, okay, Mom.
Oh.
But she's like, oh, I'm starting to feel better, and it's I think it's a sinus infection.
Right.
Mary is a nurse. She has some Z-Pack. So I took it over. And Mary was like, start taking the Z-Pack. Do the Shannon screening tomorrow.
Right. Yes.
And make sure to tell them that you do a lot of traveling.
Right.
You have not been out of the country to a hotspot, but obviously...
Right.
Yeah. She was like, yeah, like 10 days ago I did interpreting, had to sit next to this guy who did nothing but cough for 4 hours right next to me.
Fun.
And and then I got sick for 10 days. And I was like, do you have a fever? She's like, no, haven't had a fever this whole time.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right.
Like, okay.
It's probably
You're
okay.
Probably safe.
Do the thing.
Just
But-
do the thing.
That's
funny.
I should be calling my mom more often.
So this was a little bit of a wake-up call.
Dude,
Oh man.
talk to
that's
your
funny.
mom. I went to a store the other day, and it's a store that my mom also goes to. I don't think the person behind the counter has seen us together, but they use Stripe, right?
Yeah.
So like my info comes up, Jeff Caldwell. My mom's info comes up, Maria Caldwell. I guess one day I went in there to buy something, and he goes, so something happened the other day that sort of bothered me, Jeff. And I was like, first of all, how do you remember my first name?
Right. So we have an issue already.
And then he goes, no, actually, he didn't start it out like that. He said, your mom said something that bothered me the other day. And I was like, what?
This is starting off a little awkward for me. I'm not gonna lie.
Because I was like, are you making a joke to me right now?
Oh,
Because I thought this was the lead-in for a joke.
right.
And then he goes in and
You're just like, wow, this customer service is amazing.
too much. No, it was funny.
Shockingly good.
It was funny. But he was like, you need to call your mom, Jeff.
Nice.
I was like, wow, thanks for guilting me, guy whose name I can't remember right now.
Appreciate it.
I don't remember your name, but you remember mine, and I'm upset about that.
Oh man, that's funny. Well, that's good. So
Yeah, so she's probably okay.
I hope she gets better from her sinus infection or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Soon. I bet she will. 10 days, she's probably on the downside of it now.
Yeah, yeah. So that's good.
Yeah. I was just sitting there at home yesterday, and I was like, man, I don't know why I'm just coughing out of nowhere. Not a lot, but I mean, I'm sure if you watch the show, you've seen me cough on here. And then I was like, throat's a little sore.
Uh-oh.
And I was like, am I getting sick at all? And I'm like, nah, this is just normal.
Just normal.
Moving into summertime feeling for me.
It's
like, for me, it's usually twice a year. And
Right.
it's when we get the biggest season change.
Got it. Yeah.
You know, for us. I actually haven't been sick in, gosh, a long time. A couple years now, probably.
I'm really lucky about getting sick. I have a crazy immune system.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
See, I don't have one at all because of my medicine.
Right.
So we're polar opposite.
I don't know. That's also, it could be, you know, Mary's immune system is not very great. So there could be that I'm sitting here comparing it to her. She gets sick like nobody's business.
And
but
you're like, I am indestructible.
She will be like radiating sickness right next to me. And
you're like, I'm good.
I'm fine. Just fine.
Well,
dude.
also, being a nurse, though, I mean,
yeah.
She's obviously...
She's not working right now. So it's like...
So that's good.
She'll get... It could be because my immune system is good, I'm just bringing all this crap home.
Yeah, and it doesn't affect you.
Because
you're just the carrier. You're like, I got it all.
I'm just the delivery guy. But...
That's funny.
Yeah,
could be.
I don't know if it was all those years on the subway. I
have touched everything. It's fine. Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I played in enough dirt when I was a kid.
Well, you know, I was just about to say that too. I mean, I don't really know if it's changed. You obviously hear people talk about it all the time. Oh, kids don't play out in the dirt enough. I don't really know if that's true.
Yeah,
I mean, my kid's digging in dirt all day long.
Right.
You know, so
yeah.
I obviously don't know enough parents or enough people out there to make that call culturally.
You know what I think? I think that I think there's an ongoing need to, I don't know if it's like getting attention. It's sort of a social media thing that I've seen over the years, where it's just like, what is wrong with kids and video games? Or what is wrong with kids and the way they do this that we didn't do?
Right.
In the same way. Because now we're old enough that we spend just as much time playing video games.
Right.
Right?
It hasn't changed.
Right?
Right.
So, like, okay.
Yeah, it's like, we get it.
I know that there has been a cultural shift in, at least I've seen news stories, I haven't witnessed it myself or experienced it, in how close parents are expected to be to their children.
Okay.
At all times, right?
Right.
Like, I spent roughly my entire childhood, once I learned how to ride a bike, away from my house.
Gone. Absolutely.
Not anywhere near my parents.
Gone. And I think we talked about this once before, because it was that same scenario. And I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's because I'm now older and looking at my kids and going, dude, I know what's out in this world. There's no way I would, at 10 o'clock in the morning, let you get on your bike and say, be home by dark.
Right. I'm like 13 years old out smoking cigarettes with pedophiles.
Right. But absolutely, I remember that. And it's not, and it's funny when we talk about it, it makes our parents just sound like they were the most...
Yeah, no, they were great.
Like, they were the worst parents in history. See you next week, Billy.
Don't forget your spear.
Right. And it's not like there's just been this influx of crime, right?
Right.
There was crime back then. There was all this back then. But I do think it has changed enough.
Yeah.
You know, because like that, things we were doing when we were kids, we're still doing. I mean, I played tons of video games. Yeah. I played video games as much as I played outside. I mean, that was life, right? It's like, I'm going to play outside until it's dark. Now I'm going to play video games until it's light. that's
right.
the way it went. So things have changed a little bit for me, obviously, getting older and seeing things.
Right.
I think there's got to be enough of a difference because, there's no way. I would say, Emmett, get on your bike and ride to your friend's house and y'all have fun and go play and be back by dinner.
Right.
And don't do anything like...
What's the difference then in adults?
It's weird. I don't know.
Because it's not the kids.
No.
Right? I don't think it's the kids. They're still going to be like
the same.
That kid is probably like, you know what I'd really like to do is just go by myself to my friend's house.
Right.
I'd prefer not to be supervised all my life.
Sure. And I remember obviously having to check in, and things like that. It's like, hey, call me, let me know where you are.
But it was like,
a little bit.
Like, it's dark. Why aren't you home?
Right.
Right?
Yeah. It's like, hey, you're out past dark again. You're not going to get to do this again.
Right.
We told you, be home by dark.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's weird.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But, everybody with talking about coronavirus and sports, esports is looking pretty good right now. You can't shut those audiences down.
Yeah, man. Thank goodness for high-speed internet, right?
I know.
Because it used to be that if you wanted to do that stuff, you had to have a LAN party, and that would have been out.
Yeah. No. Social distancing. Don't go have a LAN party.
Yeah.
And now all these streamers that sit back at home. I was watching a guy that I watch stream all the time the other night, and I was like, yep, typical 40,000 viewers watching you every night. I was like, that's working.
Look out for that on KLST and KSAN.
Yeah, maybe we're going to start covering esports.
That's all they're going to be able to talk about.
Yeah. So the Masters is postponed.
Yeah, everything is postponed.
Everything is.
Listen,
everything is.
If the coronavirus spreads in the way that it spread in Italy, because their response was delayed,
right?
To the extent that they were like, okay, well now we've got to shut everything down. Then doing all of this stuff preemptively is the right move.
Sure.
We're gonna have a hit to our economy, but not nearly as big a hit if we didn't do all of those things.
Right.
Because if we didn't do all those things, you're looking at
it just crazy.
But and that's the thing is we're not talking about widespread death.
Right.
But what we are talking about is widespread disruption to...
Well, and here's the deal. There's never anything wrong with... Well, I say there's never. I probably shouldn't use never. In my opinion, it's a good thing to preemptively plan and stop things.
Be cautious.
Right. Yeah. Right. Be very precautious. So I get right now why crowds are being stopped.
Sure.
Right. These massive crowds. I understand that. I can't get behind the widespread panic. Right.
No. Yeah.
I can't see going to clear shelves at supermarkets of toilet paper and Lysol and blah blah all this stuff. Live life like you've been doing it and be precautious. Wash your hands.
Yeah.
Have good hygiene. Don't go to a crowd with 200,000 people. Right.
Don't do that.
Right.
Don't, if a political rally comes up, do yourself a favor.
Right.
It's
there's no need to panic. There's an absolute need to be logical and precautious.
Right. It's sort of like the advent of hygiene.
Sure.
It was like, oh, hey, we have to wash the dishes.
Crazy. Man, you mean that week-old mac and cheese that's stuck on there that's a little fuzzy and green now?
Not going to work out for you.
It's probably going to taint my new mac and cheese I put on top.
Right. It's basically what allows us to eat pork.
Yes.
And chicken. Because otherwise...
that's salmonella.
No.
Nope. You don't want that.
So that's actually... I've been learning a little bit about data visualization, and one of the things that comes up is the history of data visualization.
Okay.
And one of the earliest examples is, I think it was the 17 or 1800s in London, probably the 1800s, but they could not figure out why everybody was getting cholera.
Okay.
There was a huge cholera outbreak. So this guy got a map, and he started basically mapping the cases of cholera, like putting a mark.
Sure.
And they were like, well, why are there so many that are grouped right here? And it was like, there's a well right next to a latrine.
Not the best planning.
Right, but like germ theory hadn't even come about.
At that point, they're not thinking of
There's no such... They weren't like, why with all these spirits? Or, maybe not in the 1800s necessarily spirits, but like germ theory was not a thing yet.
No.
So like, they were, uh-oh.
Right.
Yeah, but it was like, hold on a second, maybe we shouldn't be doing that right there. But yeah, it was one of those things where visualizing it, they were like, oh, there it is.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it was just like, why is everybody sick?
Oh, it's funny. I was laughing a second ago because you had mentioned chicken.
Yeah.
My brother will cook chicken until it's paper dry and so white that it could not be whiter.
Yeah.
Because he's like, I'm not getting sick from raw chicken. And I'm like, dude, chicken can be juicy. It doesn't mean that
you need a meat thermometer if you're worried about it.
So anytime he comes over to my house or whatever, I've cooked chicken and it's cooked thoroughly, right, and perfect, and it's nice and juicy, and he's like, you need to throw that back in a little bit for me. I'm like, dude, it's cooked. He's like, not taking a chance.
Maybe that's what he likes. He's like, my chicken is just not dry enough.
Yeah, he may like dry chicken.
Do you have any sauce for this that I could? You're like, yeah, you know what? It was sufficient earlier.
That's exactly how it is. Yep.
He's like, I need some sauce to moisten this up.
But he's kind of like that with everything. He eats. I mean, he will not eat a steak bloody by any means.
Right.
It's and he doesn't have to have it like shoe leather. He used to.
Yeah.
But he doesn't have to have it shoe leather anymore. I mean, he'll eat it probably medium to medium well. Which I like mine rare.
I am not a fan of rare.
No.
Not medium rare. I also do not like blood in my food.
Makes me feel like an animal.
So my deal with chicken is that I don't like bones.
Okay.
I don't like bones or gristle.
Right.
I'm not a huge fan of fat.
Okay.
It gets in my mouth, and my stomach is like, get everything out. Everything out right now.
Purge the system.
No! So, if it comes down to it, I don't know how I'm going to survive guess I'll learn to love it.
Yeah, do what you got to do to survive.
There are people who are like, I suck the marrow out of the bone, and I'm like, you're disgusting.
Like, you are a bad human. Oh, man. That's awesome.
But, yeah, I mean, the transition to things like vegetarianism or probably even veganism, not too difficult for me.
Yeah.
Because after just not a very long period of time, that disgust with bones and gristle extends all the way to meat.
Right. Yeah. It's like I've had enough.
When it's like, would you like a plate of this? And I'm like,
it's raw pork. It's great.
Have some dead animal.
That's funny.
Like David was talking about condors. Like they eat dead things. And I'm like, so do we.
Yes, we do.
That's exactly what we do.
Yep. Oh, man. So, before we ran out of time today, I did watch another movie last night that I hadn't watched in a while. I watched Phone Booth with Colin Farrell.
I've not seen that.
I do not think it's good.
There are, Colin Farrell can really pull off a lot of good acting.
Mm-hmm.
But for being able to do that, he's been in a lot of bad movies.
Yep. Yeah. The thing that I always love about Colin Farrell is in all these movies, he's got an American accent. Sounds American.
Yeah.
He's not.
He's absolutely not.
And his normal accent is very strong.
His last name is an indication of where he's from.
Right. So it is cool and interesting to me because to me, I think an American accent would be incredibly hard to do. And I don't know if that's why I have an American accent, and it seems like it would be hard for me to impersonate that.
Right. Well,
but
unless you're coached really well. I mean, the difference between English and American actors, which is it's so often that you can see an American actor have a very bad English accent.
Right.
You know, is that acting is something different in England because of Shakespeare and because of their tradition of theater. They really take it seriously.
Yes.
Like really, really, really.
Right. Yeah.
You don't get to be like an actor in England unless you're really good.
Right.
You know?
You didn't make it.
Right. In the United States, it's almost enough to just be charismatic and be able to ad-lib.
Easy to look at. You can ad-lib. Got some charisma.
I mean, ad-libbing is like a really important part of acting.
Yeah.
Because it's being able to listen. Yeah. Improv is like listening to somebody else and responding to them.
Right. Well, yeah, absolutely, because half of acting is reacting. Right?
That's pretty much, yeah. That's actually most of it.
Right. So when somebody does something and you have this dead stare while you're waiting for your line to deliver, it's like...
It's not going to work.
You're not going to make it.
Right.
Right.
But that's why Robert Downey Jr. is such a... I mean, he's great at improv.
Oh, absolutely.
And he also happens to be super good at accents.
Yes.
Almost any accent you give him.
Yes.
It's like, wow, that's really something.
That's fun.
That guy's good at that.
That's fun.
He deserves the money he gets.
Yes, he does.
But if you compare him to Keanu Reeves trying to do an English accent and Bram Stoker's Dracula, No.
Remember when Kevin Costner tried to have a Cockney accent for a little bit?
That dropped halfway through the movie, too.
Hood.
I think that's probably when the prominence of dialect coaches started coming up.
Yeah.
And it was like, we really need to try harder.
Like, we need to hire a guy.
Yeah.
To do that.
But it's funny because the almost 60 years before that, nobody cared.
No.
Just pretend. Who cares?
Yeah, it's fine.
We're Americans. We're going to be like, yeah, that's obviously what English people sound like.
Right. So, you know, another English actor who has a phenomenal American accent is Hugh Laurie.
Yeah, he's nobody knew he was English.
Right. Again, for the longest time, I watched House, obviously, which I loved.
Just thought he was an American guy.
Yeah, and so many things, and I'm like, Hugh Laurie, oh yeah, he's a really good actor. And then I heard him in an interview, and I was like,
what?
At first, I was like, oh, I wonder why he's doing this accent. That's cool. And then I was like, no, that's how he speaks.
Yeah. Have you ever seen a bit of Fry and Laurie?
Nuh-uh.
So, you know Stephen Fry.
Uh-huh.
He and Hugh Laurie did a sketch comedy show.
Nice.
In the 1980s and 1990s.
Oh, cool.
Called A Bit of Fry and Laurie. It's so funny.
Nice. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, just Google it. A Bit of Fry and Laurie.
Yeah, I hadn't heard of it. Dude, he's amazing. I mean, first of all, he's a phenomenal actor.
He's a great actor. Yeah.
I think he's great. But yeah, the accent, I mean, spot on. You'd never know.
No.
You'd never know.
The only, who was David Tennant? You know who that is? The guy who played Doctor Who from like 2008 until...
Yes, yeah.
He tried a couple of times to do an American accent in a couple of different shows. One of them where he was like a Chicago lawyer or something like that, or detective, or I don't know.
Right.
He's just off enough, right? Like he's
noticeable.
Close. He's close, but it's like the uncanny valley of accents.
Right.
Right. It's super close, but you're like, I don't know. It's sort of like in Inglourious Bastards, the 3 thing,
yes.
instead of the 3 thing. There's something just off enough about his accent that you'd be like, he's not from here.
You're like, that's noticeable. Yep.
But I can't pinpoint exactly where it is. It's like a rhythm.
Yeah.
That's not quite right.
Yeah. Well, and also, I think probably what would make it so hard is all of the dialects.
Yeah.
I mean, how many different dialects do we have?
Absolutely. And
That'd
even
be
just,
crazy.
You know, if we were to practice accents, you would probably, in England, would they call it like received pronunciation, which is just the newscaster sort of English.
Right.
What we would consider like a bland American accent.
Yes.
Is sort of the equivalent in England.
Right.
But, you know, David Tennant's from Scotland.
Yeah.
He's Scottish.
And so, I mean, you know, Scotland has different dialects. I don't know how many.
Yeah.
But I mean, quite a few.
There's like a difference between,
I would assume,
my favorite, Les Wiegand, and
yeah.
and other people, but yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. I bet that's what. I bet that would be hard.
It's super fun to watch any video where I think I mentioned about a month ago, the series on YouTube of where I think it's Wired or somebody gets an expert to break down movie scenes.
Oh yeah.
Versus their expertise.
Yes.
And you know, the one I was talking about was the Master of Disguise from the CIA.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's actually what her title was, but
it would be
the
legit.
Equivalent. But they also have videos where a really good dialect coach breaks down scenes in movies and says, "Look, this is wrong, and here's why." Nice. Because they're experts in basically vocal anatomy.
Yes.
And what's actually happening in somebody's mouth and throat while they're making those noises. So they can tell you, no, do this with your tongue while you're doing that, and
right.
It works.
So
it's
weird.
Just like, oh, okay.
It's so weird. Oh man. Yeah. Well, that's gonna do it for us today.
Yeah, we're out of here.
Yep, it's Friday. But we'll be back Monday, and I'm sure we'll have amazing things to talk about. So y'all have a great weekend. We'll see you Monday, 11 o'clock.